Hello again, friends. If you are watching this video, hopefully you are ready to start supporting your thesis with evidence. And we're going to start by using microstories as evidence to support your thesis. Now, before we go into how this is going to work, I want you just to check and make sure that you've done these things first. If you are ready for this step, that means that you've already underlined important ideas and elaborated on them. You've pulled those ideas out. You've written long about them separately, like I did with Piper. If you haven't done that, go back and do that first. You also should have watched the video on developing a thesis and testing it, and I should have taken a look at that. So if you haven't done that, go back and do that first. You need at least 3 reasons, and then you need to come check in with me. If you have not shown me your thesis statement and your 3 reasons, stop the video now. You're not quite ready for this yet. Come and see Mrs. Irving, check in with me, make sure you're good to go. If you have done all of these things, awesome. We are ready to start developing the evidence for our literary essay. Now, I want you to think back to the essays we've already written because we've talked about a few different types of opinion essays. First, we worked on our personal essays. And one type of evidence that we used for our personal essays were small moment stories about your life. When we moved into persuasive, we were still using those small stories, but they might have been about others' experiences because that essay and that thesis statement was a little broader. It applied to people other than just yourself. We're still going to use small moment stories, only we're going to take them from our text. And I'll show you what that might look like. We're going to be retelling the text, but in a way that really pops out and highlights the point that you're trying to make, so your thesis statement or your reasons. I'm going to show you what this will look like. Here are the steps that I'm going to take. And we're calling this angle a story because we're not telling it the way the author told it. We're giving it a spin. We're telling it, we're putting our own personal touch on it to really highlight or draw out that point we're trying to make. So first, we're going to repeat the point that we want to make. We're going to use words from the text to tell a small part of the story. And then we're going to mention what the character doesn't do as a way to draw attention to what they do. So you'll see me talking about Dog and how he could have acted towards Fox, but how he acted differently instead to highlight that part of his character. And you'll also see that I'm going to repeat those key words from my thesis statement, for my reason, my big ideas and topic sentences. I'm going to repeat them several times every time I tell this story, so I know my reader is clear on what I'm trying to get them to understand. So for example, here's one of the reasons that I used to develop my thesis about Fox. And my thesis statement was that Dog is a good friend. The reason I'm using to support that is because he sees the good in others. So I'm going to think about what moments in the story led me to that conclusion and what moments in the story could help my reader draw the same conclusion. I'm almost going to have to take them by the hand and walk them through the book and walk them through my thinking so that they come to the same understanding that I came to. That's my goal in this literary essay, to get my reader to think the way that I think. So first, you're going to skim your book. You're going to look through to find those specific passages where your idea is shown. So I looked through Fox and I found this section where Dog meets Fox, but shows that he accepts him and sees the good in him even when Magpie doesn't. So I'm going to pull out this part of the text to show my point. But I'm going to retell it in a special way. I want to make sure that I understand what happened, and then I'm going to zoom in on a teeny, teeny, tiny part of the story, and I'm going to stretch it out to show the point that I'm trying to make. So here are the steps up here so you can see what I'm doing. First, I'm going to reread that part of the text and just make sure I understand the event. So Fox comes to the bush, and then Magpie is scared, but Dog welcomes him. The next thing that happens is that Fox compliments Dog and Magpie on their running. And Magpie still feels kind of weird about him, but Dog just thinks that's the greatest thing ever. He beams with excitement. He really sees the best in Fox at that time. But I'm not just going to tell it that way in my essay. That doesn't draw my point out and make it very clear. I'm not telling it the same way the author is. I'm telling it in ways that pop out the fact that Dog sees the best in others. So watch. Dog is the kind of character that sees the best in others. For example, one day a fox came to the bush where Dog and Magpie lived. Fox moves through the trees sneakily like a tongue of fire. Magpie trembles at the sight of him. But Dog doesn't see the bad in Fox. Dog does not tremble like Magpie. He is not scared by Fox's haunted eyes. Instead, he is excited that Fox has come to visit their cave, and Dog welcomes him in for food and shelter. Dog only sees the good in Fox. So let's take a look at some of those things that I did that match the steps that I introduced to you earlier. Firstly, look at this whole section here. Notice how I show what Dog doesn't do. He doesn't tremble the way Magpie does. He's not scared by Fox's haunted eyes. So even though Dog would be pretty normal to be scared of Fox, I'm scared of Fox, Magpie's scared of Fox, Dog sees the best in him. That shows my point because I told what he didn't do, show what he did do instead. Also, I repeated my point several times. I stated it right at the beginning, and I stated it again at the end. I also stated it right here in the middle. Dog doesn't see the bad in Fox. You want to make sure you repeat that big idea often. And then notice I also pulled out specific words from the text that show how scary Fox is and how Dog acts towards him. I didn't just pick any old words. I didn't use entire, phrases or entire sentences and paragraphs from the author, just those specific words that I thought highlight the point I'm trying to make. So it is your turn to try now. First thing you're going to do is find a part of your story that fits with your first reason. And you're going to tell that bit of the story, a teeny tiny part in a stretched out way. Think about what the character could have done or what the author maybe could have done differently to show the point that you're trying to make. Use words from the text and repeat your idea often. Repeat your reason and your thesis multiple times throughout each piece of evidence. You are going to draft these right into your playlist. So notice that this is the section of my playlist right underneath the row where you click to find this video. You're going to type your stories right in here. These will go for reason 1. These will be stories for reason 2, etc. You're welcome to even put your reasons right in here in the box, copy and paste them. If you would prefer to write them in your notebook, you're welcome to come and see me and we can talk about that. That might be a possibility. But the reason I'm asking you to type them right into your playlist is because it's easier for me to just go right in and see how you're doing and how I can help and make sure you're on the right track before you get too far. So I'd prefer that you do them in your playlist. If you would rather handwrite them, come and see me, we'll talk. Sorry, this text is covered up. You want to make sure each separate part of the story goes in a separate box. So after I tell this story, I'm going to go down to the next row. I'm not going to tell another story in this box. I'm going to go down to the next section of the table to tell multiple stories about that reason. Once you've gotten 2 to 3 stories written, check in with me to make sure you're on the right track. If you need help getting started, first thing you should do is rewind the video, rewatch it, see if there's anything that you can make sense of that didn't make sense the first time. If it's still not helping, come and see me and we'll work through one of your stories together. You may want to either find this slide in the slideshow that I've linked or just pause this part of the video to keep these steps up here so that you know what steps you should be taking when you are coming up with your evidence. I hope you have fun doing this and look for those really specific parts of the story. Tell them with all of the good writing skills and strategies that you know how to use. Have fun, work hard, good luck, happy Friday.